A new investigation has revealed a troubling financial scheme operating inside Ukraine's occupied territories, and the details point directly toward Russia's central authorities. On January 28, 2026, Ukraine's National Resistance Center released findings that suggest the Kremlin is using online gambling platforms as a tool to extract money from civilians and redirect those funds into Russia's war economy. According to analysts, this is not a decentralized or accidental development. It represents a structured system designed to generate revenue under the control of Moscow's highest financial and political institutions. If you support Ukraine's fight for sovereignty, consider subscribing and liking this video. It helps these reports reach a wider audience following developments in the conflict. The National Resistance Center describes the creation of legalized online casinos in occupied territories as a new form of economic exploitation. Rather than serving any civilian purpose, these platforms are reportedly being integrated into Russia's broader financial mechanisms used to sustain military operations. The initiative is said to be supported at the highest levels of government, with Russia's finance ministry playing a central coordinating role. Analysts point specifically to Finance Minister Anton Siluanov as a key figure overseeing the financial architecture behind the operation. Even more significant is the reported involvement of Russia's presidential administration. According to the findings, financial flows from the occupied territories are monitored and managed through structures connected to the Kremlin itself. The operation is overseen by First Deputy Chief of Staff Sergei Kiriyenko, one of President Putin's most senior political managers, who is tasked with integrating the occupied regions into Russia's wartime economic system. This arrangement allows what analysts describe as gray revenue streams to function outside traditional state budgets. These funds are not subject to normal transparency requirements and are difficult to trace through international monitoring systems. In effect, shadow economy is being constructed alongside Russia's official financial channels. The numbers involved are striking. Under the gambling system now operating in occupied areas, at least 30% of all online casino revenue is automatically redirected to the Russian state. All transactions move through Russian payment systems, making it easy for authorities to track, control, and extract funds. Part of this revenue remains in so-called shadow budgets managed by occupation administrations, while the remainder is transferred directly to Moscow. Analysts estimate that the overall online gambling market in Russia already exceeds 3 trillion rubles per year. Applying this model to occupied Ukrainian territories could generate enormous additional income for the Russian war effort. What makes this situation particularly serious is the lack of choice facing civilians. Residents in occupied areas have seen alternative financial systems removed or restricted. Access to Ukrainian banking services is cut off, and Russian-controlled payment instruments dominate daily transactions. In this environment, civilians are effectively pushed into using Russian platforms, including online casinos, whether they intend to or not. Any participation in these systems feeds directly into the occupation economy and, according to analysts, finance military operations against Ukraine itself. The National Resistance Center concluded in its January 28 report that the legalization of casinos in occupied territories represents part of a centralized exploitation model. Under the appearance of economic regulation, gambling is being transformed into a mechanism for war financing. This casino scheme is not an isolated example. Earlier reports revealed that occupation authorities in Luhansk have begun selling off public and private property through rapid privatization programs. Officials there admitted facing severe budget shortages and set targets to raise at least 120 million rubles through asset sales. In Donetsk, the situation has taken a darker turn. According to available information, individuals who are unable to repay loans, fines, or penalties risk being forced into military service. Financial debt is being converted into manpower for the war effort. Together, these practices form a system of extraction. Property is sold off, civilian income is channeled through gambling platforms, debt is transformed into forced enlistment. Every remaining resource in occupied territories is being directed towards sustaining Russia's military campaign. Analysts describe this as the construction of a comprehensive exploitation structure. Civilians are no longer treated as residents with rights, but as sources of revenue and manpower. The integration of gambling income into war financing marks a new stage in Russia's attempts to bypass international sanctions. These off-budget mechanisms make it harder to trace where funds originate and how they are spent. Each ruble collected through this system avoids formal budget oversight and international scrutiny. For people living under occupation, the reality is increasingly bleak. Financial choices are limited, escape is difficult, and participation in Russian-controlled systems becomes unavoidable. The casino program adds another layer to the pressures already facing civilians in these areas. This January 2026 revelation underscores how economic tools are being used alongside military force. What appears on the surface as regulation or development is, according to analysts, a deliberate strategy to extract money from occupied populations and convert it into fuel for continued war. As international observers examine Russia's financial networks, this case highlights the growing complexity of wartime funding methods and the challenges of enforcing sanctions against shadow economies. You've been listening to M&J's Military Report, where we analyze military developments, defense strategy, and global security trends. We'll see you in the next update.